We are almost officially halfway through 2024. I cannot believe it, but I thought it would be kind of fun to share my top 10 books so far for this year. So I have read, I think, 38 books. Now, if you follow me on Goodreads, if you do not, I will leave my link in the description. I had a goal this year for 36 books, and I'm already at 38. And here is why. Last year, I think I read like 39 books. That was it. And I'm already at 38. So I was like, if I read about 3 books a month, that puts me at 36. Well, I'm already at reading. I'm 100 pages into book 39, I think it is. I want to say Goodreads counts the book that you're currently reading, and it says 39. So I think I'm at my 39th book. Excuse my phone. And I thought I had my book over here. I think it's around the corner. So the top 10 books include everything but that 39th book, which is Beach Read. So if you watch next Wednesday, my book talk, I'm actually filming that today as well. That book is not going to be included. I don't know if I'm going to finish it by the end of June. I'm not sure. I'm not going to rush myself through it because so many people love that book and so many people reread it every year. I don't want to rush through it. So it's probably going to be my first book for July. So this is my stack of my top 10 books so far for 2024, minus one that I'm letting somebody from work borrow. So we're going to get right into it, and I'm going to start with the 10th book and go all the way down to the first. So for number 10, I'm going to tell you number 9 and number 10. I couldn't decide which one to put as number 10 and number 9. All of these books are rated 5 or 6 stars. So I would recommend every single book over here. I even looked at my reading journal. If you've not seen my reading journal video where I walked you through how I put that together, I will link that in a card above. So book number 10 is How to Walk Away by Katherine Center. So this is my favorite book so far by Katherine Center. I've read, I want to say 3 of her books. This one, The Bodyguard, and my mind is going blank. Oh, Things You Save in a Fire. Locked all 3. This one is my favorite so far. I cannot wait for my July TBR. I have the rom-commers on that. If you did not watch my bookish haul, I will link that in a card above. I did mention that in that video, and you'll see all of the merch and the books and things that I've gotten recently. So definitely check that out. So I'm not going to tell you anything about this book because it will give the book away. Like, I recommend going into this book blind so that I feel like, I didn't even read the back, I don't think. I just read it, and I enjoyed the book so much more by not reading the back. So my 9th book so far for this year is Archer's Voice. So this is a book, people either love it or they hate it. I loved it. Now, if you don't like spice in a book, you're not gonna like this, but it's not done in a smutty type of fashion, if that makes sense. So Archer, this book is about Archer, and Archer is basically mute. He's very an outcast in the town that he lives in. Everybody kind of talks about him and nobody associates with him. So you get this whole entire story of Archer and Bree. I think it's Bree. I've read this I started this book in December, so the names are leaving me. I think it's Bree. She moves in to this small town that Archer lives in, and she kind of befriends him. So I love it. Beautiful story. But if you don't like the spice, you might not like this. I love the entire story and highly recommend it to anybody. Number 8. And here's the thing about all of these books, you guys. All of them are 5 or 6 stars, like I said. So they're all like, I'm like, oh, did I rate that number 8? I really like that. Well, they're all 5 and 6 stars. So all of these are amazing books. So I'll tell you this number 8 book up here, and you probably know what that is just by the appearance of the side and everything. My number 8 book here was a huge surprise. So I have read 2 Emily Henry books up until this point, and I'm like, I don't really know, like, why do people love her books so much? And that was Book Lover. I think I need to reread that because I don't think I appreciated it as much as I should have. And then I read Happy Place. I think Happy Place was way too long for me. So I went into this book very hesitant and loved it. 5 stars. And that is Funny Story. So I read this in May. Loved every minute of it, you guys. Really, really, really highly recommend this book. Even if you're not an Emily Henry fan, give this book a chance. And I'm reading Beach Read right now, and I'm about 100 pages in, and I'm really liking that one as well. Number 7 is, I think, the only thriller on this top 10 list. Yes, it is. And I love to read a thriller, but for some reason, I don't ever rate them 5 stars. Like, something about them, like, I will read them and I'm getting all excited and, oh yes, this is going to be amazing. And then when we get to the twists and everything towards the end, it's a letdown. This was a roller coaster ride the entire way through to the last page. And that is The Only One Left by Riley Sager. So, and this is also one of my favorite sticker sheets that I have created, and I sold quite a few in June. Y'all, and let's talk about the cover. Let's pause for a minute and let's just take in this gorgeous cover. That was one of the reasons I wanted this book, is because the cover alone was beautiful. This book is about a massacre that happened in, I want to say, like 1929. Oh, it is 29. I was about to say 1950. It's been a while since I've read this one. And everybody in Lenora's family dies but her. Like in a bloody massacre. So everybody thinks Lenora killed her entire family. It's like a running joke in the town. But after this, Lenora went mute. So she didn't discuss it. She would not talk about it. And now she's in her, I want to say like 80s. And she's got a caretaker, Kit, that comes to take care of her. And she gets this typewriter out and she basically tells Kit that she wants to tell her the entire story. So you might think that you know what's going on and what happened that bloody night in 1929, but I guarantee you do not. So this was a roller coaster ride the entire way through this book. I loved it. Twists and turns kept coming, had me on the edge of my seat, could not put the book down. So this was book number 7 so far for this year. So if you follow me on TikTok or Instagram, or you've watched my book talk videos, you probably know what 3 of these books are. So book number 6 is the first of the 3, and that is Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. I think she pronounced it Jimenez. I need to really look that up. This is the first book in the Part of Your World series. I recommend reading them in the order intended. So Part of Your World first, Yours Truly, and then Just for the Summer. So all 3 of those, you're fixing to see those. I love this. Small town meets city romance. Loved it. And the goat in this book, which I think, yes, the goat, which is on the cover, just adds a whole nother element. And here's the thing about Abby Jimenez. You might think that this is going to be a light, fluffy rom-com. You're wrong. What I love about her books, and the reason why she has become one of my favorite authors, like, she's going to be an auto buy. The next book she comes out with, I'm going to buy it. No matter what the book is about, is you think you're about to read this book and it's going to be just kind of hee, oh, they're going to fall in love. No, there's always an underlying, at least one situation that the main character or main characters are dealing with, like a deep rooted issue. And she kind of weaves it through this romance story. Absolutely love this. I think you will love it too. Make sure that you start with this one first before you read the other ones. And the reason why I'm saying that is because the characters will pop up in all 3. And if you've read them in this order, you'll appreciate the entire series so much more. Number 5 is her latest book, and that is Just for the Summer. Loved this one so much. So this one, like I was about to say, this was a 5-star read. All of these are 5 or 6 stars. But this one, like earlier, it deals with some family dynamics as well. And I will tell you, Abby Jimenez, I can relate to her books. Like, all 3 of these books deal with some situation that I feel like I can relate to. So this book is about Justin and Emma. They meet, basically, Justin makes this Reddit post and Emma sees it, and he's talking about how he's got this curse. Like, he will date somebody and then after they break up, that other person finds the love of their life and they get married and live happily ever after. Well, Emma has the same issue that she feels like. So they decide to make this pact to where they're going to date each other, and they've got these situations that they have to meet. Then they'll break up, and then they'll both find their soulmate. And it definitely does not go the way that they expect. So, love this book, so cute, but like I said with Part of Your World, it's not a light, fluffy rom-com. Like, there are some deep issues in this book, and I just loved it. Now we're to number 4, and this was a very unexpected love of mine, so much that all of these have gone on my favorites, but this one holds a special place, and I'm not sure why. This was my first Nicholas Sparks book, and I loved it, and I don't know if that's an issue because I read The Notebook, and I think The Notebook messed me up because I'd watched the movie and I actually liked the movie better. My 4th favorite book so far for 2024 is The Wish. And let me say, if you're going to read this book, you need the Kleenex. This, I don't even know, I can't remember how, this is a fiction, like contemporary fiction, I think is how I labeled it. I went into this book not knowing what to expect. And this is another one like Archer's Voice. People either loved it or they hated it. So I thought, I'm going to read it. And you guys, I did cry several times in this book. This is not a light and fluffy read. This is a pretty deep book. It should come with trigger warnings if you don't like illness and all of that. This might not be a book for you, but I feel like Nicholas Sparks took every element of this book and he wrapped it up in a bow at the end, if you know what I'm meaning. Like at the end, all of these different parts came together and I felt like he fully completed the story, if that makes sense. Like, the book was so sad, but I smiled too. And once you read it, it'll make sense. But, I mean, I don't know where Nicholas Sparks goes from here. Like, where do you top this book for me? Because I'm gonna tell you, I read The Notebook, and it was just not, I liked the movie better. I started to read The Wedding, and I didn't like how it contradicted the movie for me, so I DNF'd it. Love this. Book number 4 is The Wish. Just make sure you have your Kleenex. My 3rd favorite book so far, and remember, at the end of the year, I will also share one of these videos again, probably during Vlogmas, so this could all change. It's going to be interesting to see how my top 10 now compares to my top 10 in December. So this is a reread for me. I'd seen on TikTok people talking about how this was one of their all-time favorite books. And I read this book, I want to say back in 2017. And I went and pulled it off my bookshelf and I could not remember anything about it. So I decided to reread it, and I'm so glad that I did because now it's one of my favorites. And that is Small Great Things by Jodi Picoult. And I may have just butchered her last name. Whew, this book should come with trigger warnings. And it's a very long book. This deals with racism. And you get you get 3 different sides of racism. The person being affected by it, the person that is racist, and then somebody from the outside. It was so hard to read. And you're probably going, why in the world is that your 3rd favorite book if it was hard to read? Because sometimes the hard things are what we need to read, in my opinion. The language that's used in this book, I cringed when I was reading some parts, and so many times I wanted to shut it because I felt uncomfortable. But I pushed through, and you guys, I cannot tell you, I don't know how this woman does it. The amount of research that she has to do for a book is just mind-blowing to me. Kristin Hannah is the same way. Like, when they put out books, as I'm reading, I'm like, how did you do that? Because not only did you tell a story, but I learned something as well. So this was a hard book to read, but it's so good. It is so good, and I highly recommend it. Book number 3 is Small Great Things. My 2nd favorite book so far for 2024 comes as no surprise, I am sure, because I have 2 copies of this book, and that is Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. And I got a new copy of this. So this is the original Yours Truly book. Look, I even marked those. I need to get some annotation tabs to put in this book. And I got a signed copy through a small bookshop. This is a like exclusive cover through them, and she signed it. So this is, I love this book so much. So this is the second book in the Part of Your World series or universe, and you might wonder, why did I pick this one higher than the other two? That is because one of the main characters, Jacob, deals with anxiety. I'm a person that's dealt with anxiety for years. As I get older, it gets worse. I think it's part of my perimenopause symptoms. Out of all of the symptoms I could experience right off the bat, it's that. I have talked about that in a video. I will link that in a card above. I could relate to him so much. And not only that, but the families. I love the families. Just kind of the off the wall, like I think Jacob's mom is like a sex therapist. And it just adds a whole nother element to the book. I loved it so much. So this is my favorite of the three, but I loved all three so much. I recommend all three of them. So Yours Truly is my second favorite book so far for 2024. And let me mention this as well. This book is so good that it was rated Book of the Year through Book of the Month. So that should tell you something how amazing this book is. It's pretty ironic that my favorite book so far of 2024 I do not have, because I let a co-worker borrow the book. And she took it home for the summer. So I don't have it, but I'm going to pop a picture up here. And this is, you probably know which one I'm fixing to talk about. This is a book that I was kind of hesitant to read because I'm not a historical fiction person. I've never been a history buff. I've never, like, I can't, like, names and dates really confuse me. So I was like, oh my goodness, everybody's saying this book is good. I guess I'm gonna read it. Y'all read it in 2 days and it's almost 500 pages. And that is The Women by Kristin Morgan. Like I was saying earlier about Jodi Picoult, the amount of research that Kristin Morgan had to do for this book is just mind-blowing to me. Every one of her books, I'm like, oh my goodness, like she had to do some major research to learn about that topic to weave it into this story. So this is about the women in the Vietnam War. So I did not know much about the Vietnam War, if anything. I didn't know anything about the Vietnam War before I started reading this book. And evidently, people did not know that women were involved in the war. So that's like an underlying thing, this whole entire book. So it follows a group of friends through their journey through the Vietnam War. And I cried, I laughed, I smiled, all the things. I'm telling you, it says something if I sat down one weekend, like the only thing I did the weekend I read this book was read this book. I read almost 500 pages in one weekend. I could not put the book down, and it was one of those, do you get that feeling after you read a good book, you're like, where do we go from here? And you felt a little sad? Like I felt a little bit sad because I thought, oh, that was so good I didn't want it to end. My favorite book so far for 2024 is The Women. And it's going to be hard for any book to top that one. Now I do have back here The Great Alone and The Four Winds by Kristin Morgan, which I've heard are amazing books as well. But just like The Women, these books are pretty large. I want to say they're almost 500 pages. Yep, that one's like 440. And this one is a lot. 440 as well, around that. And I'm a little bit intimidated. So which one should I read first? The Great Alone or The Four Winds? You guys let me know. So those are my top 10 books for 2024 so far, the first 6 months. And remember Beach Read, I've not finished that. I have a feeling that right now as the book's going, I feel like it's going to be one of my favorites for the year, but I'm not sure. So here is my stack of favorites. I can't even pick them all up. They are really heavy. So I would love in the comments below if you would share with me some of your favorite books from this year so far, because I'm always wanting to add books to my TBR. So I can't wait to see where this next 6 months takes me on my reading journey and to see how much this list changes. So I'm going gonna start this. I saw Emily Cromwell do this, and I'm gonna start doing this too on the videos. So if you've watched this video the whole way through, I want you to write down the word, or write down. You're not writing, you're typing it out. So I want you to put the word books in a comment below. So that's all you have to put is books. So I know that you watched all the way through. So you guys, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you give it a big thumbs up. By giving my videos a thumbs up, it shows YouTube you're engaged and you like my content, which means they'll start recommending it and suggesting it and all of those things, which means our community will grow and will continue to spread positivity. And y'all know, I'm not gonna say it again, you know how YouTube is doing, so it means a lot to me if you give my video a thumbs up and comment. So I hope you all have a great week, and until next time, bye guys.